and mobile on the go for only $5,300 plus GCT.
Oh my God!
Can manage my daily menu with some peanut porridge. What's left to do is to do some damage.
Taking a ride, it's alright. It is a money. Taking a ride, it's alright. It is a money. It's another day.
The breeze is blowing
like no other.
So let's get going.
Gotta get away.
The vibe is flowing.
Take you on the bed.
Take the way.
Taking a ride. It's alright. With me it's a Monday. She pretty and she fit out with the latest. She's dangerous. Got them a Boston girl. Big bumper from them girl. They got the bomb dangerous. Got them a Boston girl. Fresh like a rose in a what girl. Got them a bashman girl. Me and me crew would have been too dangerous. Got them a bashman girl. Careful we wish for mine we want. Then girl we make you go in and you work on guitar. I'm done it, I can't say it now. Them girl you're not ever strong. Cause they put you up to the top with the latest. She's dangerous. Got them a bashman girl. Big bumper from them girl. They got the bomb dangerous. Got them a bashman girl.
The program. So like, have you ever stopped to think what make a girl cheat? Have you ever asked her if she like how you do it? You need to check yourself before you start kiss your teeth. Nah, you're not ready for this yet, boy. Have you ever wondered where make a girl come? A woman must be satisfied before you say you're done. You can't say a thing if you end up and get fun. You're not ready for this yet, boy. And you're a little fool, I say you rule the world. And with my bum scary and I sleep over merle. Get your act together before you look another girl. You're not ready for this yet, boy. Did you even realize a woman have mood? You have been over young the little girl and one rude. That's why you need that man to eat fully pound of food. Oh no, not ready for it. Oh no, not ready for it. Oh no, not ready for this yet, boy. Action.
That's a bag of mood.
So we.
Now we made the girl them broke out.
Action.
That's a bag of mood.
So we.
Now we made the girl them broke out. Yo, my girl.
Oh,
Abby. Step up.
She want a lover, man.
action.
That's a bag of mood.
So we.
Now we made the girl them broke out.
One good. Action.
That's a bag of mood.
So we.
Now we made the girl them broke out.
You think you are so fine.
Big chat no work, yeah, man, watch the time.
Stop playing with my mind.
Oh, man, no in a joke when she will want the wine.
You call me on the phone.
I know what a talking angel come down.
And now I want you home.
I tell Jackie, girl, me nah use no stone.
Action.
That's a bag of mood. Now
Sweet.
we made the girl them broke out.
Action.
That's a bag of mood. Now we
Sweet.
made the girl them broke out.
I need some action. Tender satisfaction.
Others.
My chemistry is flowing. Can you cause a chain reaction? I need some action. Tender satisfaction.
Some man a play number two. No man I never silly no show. But I ain't no in and none of that it won't do. Cause anytime you see the little fat thing kill me up his thing say.
Wow, the Babylon's just starting.
Everybody one of them cause she charming.
Every man knows that the woman them a lead.
Them a tap and pepper seed again.
My turn to the watch cat for one and for gangster.
And she trying the old gangster crazy.
Give her your booty body, Mr. Make you resist.
So how the hell will leave a man a switch?
Saw you this morning.
Just a muggle and
Enough man calling.
you body fresh like this.
And y'all have enough 5 years like W.
I'm in life saving.
That's how me sing. Who could I not want to teach the ends? Me no in and no it from both our defense. From nobody ready then we shall be friends.
Girl, I'm a in a color contact lens.
So man a play enough to show. But I ain't no in and none of that it won't do. Cause anytime you see the little fat pinky loo, me have to think say,
Mom, if I belong, just darling.
Them are the one of them cause she charming.
Every man knows that the woman them a lead.
Them are that and pepper see you say,
Mom, if I belong, just baby.
and she drive the old gangster crazy.
Give her your booty body, me say me can't resist.
So how the hell will if a man a switch? Watch how you flex and get in on the program. To the loser wicked if your program wrong. What do you run with a me say mind where you yam? Man you play with fire never live too long. Bully you a bully be certain no man. Full of big speech and you one bag of can. Live out this week but you dying on the strong. Cause in the beginning most people are than sing. So man a play number two. Enough man a I love a still enough to show. But I ain't no in and none of that you won't do. Cause anytime you see the little fat pinky loo, me have to sing say,
Mom, if I belong, just darling.
me man the one that says you want to.
But watch out, every day I'm going to go with one of the bottom must jump out.
Learn this, it's like big man have the money, so him a the boss. But the little poor man, they think he's him. Big man have the money, things are move faster. People we know so far, ching me and get the loss. It's like exam a take and everybody in a class. To him have the money, make a big picnic pass. Hustling a go and poor man pick all the mass. Big man come in and raise up the car. Contacts are run things all down a walk. Man bring him go and in car. Poor man have a one car and ship off. Can't ship it out cause fit him money so too. Big man have the money, so him have the pass. Bad make it poor man make it this time. Big man have the money, things are move fast.
Who signal it get them window increase? When I be living like a devil on the mark and the beast are rather dead. Before me put the chip with 6 in on me head. I sing, love Jah and live for 80 men die. And teach us what the Pope and until I say I am we all. No, the one of them a Pope or spy. That's why me the man sing say, blessed be thy name. For certain wrongs that done, who is to take the blame? It's a shame, blessed be thy name. I see Babylon a work and them a work in vain. I heart, who in a create they get to you them brain. Introduce to you them to the cock and cocaine. Man a push nigger in a them main vein. Who make the back door the long the lane. With the big Mac 11 them fly down from plane. President and Prime Minister, none you can play. Two of them a play in a rich man game. Man blow the whistle them have to find another lane. Babylon carry come a yard and a chain. Rape all the woman send them and pitch a cane. Them always sorry mad when we so till I see name. Emmanuel, people say we insane. Like if them a praise gold, then why we do the same? Babylon release the chain and them a use them brain. So blessed be thy name for certain wrongs that done. Who is to take the blame? It's a shame, blessed be thy name. I see Babylon a work and them a work in vain. Hear this, in a jam down, it's the land of profit. So I Pope all I get the benefit. Who I'm never come here when Gilbert there. Who I'm pick for coming in the man get out of dream. Knows them me clever, happy right a shiver. Lace up my shoes and all I buckle up my collar. Nelson Mandela is a burning desire. Burning from some great ancestor. Who the for the lost brother. True she find out say nothing a go on. She a blow like a nobody storm. But tell her be cool and calm. I sing along. Certain girl a go nice but she low. Me and me friend them don't flap the show.
She gets used like a whole underwear. She a big party show.
That you feel know.
How it a go?
Nice but she low. Me and me friend them don't flap the show.
How it a go?
Like a whole underwear. She a big party show.
So she did a program the eye from far. True she see me now me wanna wake her. But to me a road she done me just like a one slam and I go back and check her. Now she a call all me baby mother yard. All a talk like she want jackyard. My girl just stay home hang up her phone and make she feel like that. So certain girl a go nice but she low. Me and me friend them don't flap the show.
She gets used like a whole underwear. She a big party show.
That you feel know. Certain girl a go nice but she low. Me and me friend them don't flap the show.
She gets used like a whole underwear. She a big party show.
Girl, anytime she call you, tell her you know in her. Love up and a push up on the with the big star. All a go on like a me and a rapper. Tell her to stop before it reach too far. Community is a thing where you not feed no way. You a goodie any time of the day. Furthermore, you're not even sure if she gay. Cause she just love flex like sex, I run away. So if I get
Oh, it a go. We want go. Oh, it a go.
And somebody pass up and do some for man.
Tell me, how it a go. In a phone, if a teacher pass on, molest me son. How it a go. Machete on me gun. Rasta no rasta, them boy they a ton. How it a go. Head a figure roll. A man a molest me 5 years old. How it a go. If me get cool, I mean a stop till me a chill me cool. We live in a slackness like how we die. We are one and everybody keep quiet. The man a rule and nobody now riot. Judge over son, why you dead like a higher? How it a go? In a figure gun. If a teacher twice and molest me son, how it a go? That's all me gun. Rasta no rasta, them why they a ton. How it a go? In a figure rule. If a boy a molest me 5-year-old, how it a go? If me get cool, I mean not stop till me a cheer me cool. Me little girl and me little boy and me
me no say, no man a look you but me no in on the race. So as a matter what you do, must have to get laced. Coulda run till you run right out of the place. You know still acting like me take you where we don't trace through. You are the hottest thing wherever take the place. Like your mama can secret your body with grace. Boy, you could looking for a while and look here. Remember about your body when you decide to shit. Can go to get your life with your hand pay. Rosy round stone and that stand clear. Oh, and Johnny to the bring you have your near. Oh, what of a kind of man like you are real. Baby, don't go now. Honey, pull up and cheer me. No man a look you but me no in on the race. Yeah, no matter what you do, must have to get less. Coulda run till you run right out of the place. You know, still happening and me take you where we don't change. As a man on this each up on your can. If you realize that you every man a feature. Here as a gift for me say non-stop lecture. All I've got is love. Baby, baby, take my hand. Cry without intermission. Love when me up, carry will forever expand and you wine. So could never be ups and shine. Woman just unleash your passion. And let go to take you for a stroll across the ocean. And I will pour out all of my emotions. Sing along. No fun to look you but me no in on the race. Yeah, no matter what you do, must have to get less. Coulda run till you run right out of the place. And it's still out in and me get you wet. I said, now the ice cream melt well left. Watch out.
Big things are one for your baby.
Man, I get busy cause them hear your body ready.
Big things are one for your honey.
So we're living in style and run out of money.
I say big things are one for your baby.
Say man, I get busy cause them hear your body ready.
Big things are one for your honey.
So we're living in style, girl, you know out of money. Man is secure, him say things look funny. Oh, you not say man, you still sound happy. And him they offering him a fret and him a worry. Him thinks say a next man a pick up your cherry. Him want control you with him one bag of money. And him tell Paul and the one Anthony. Which real back you like say them a box money. I beg you just call and tell him say sorry. Tell him you know no time for no man watch your body chew.
Big things are one for your baby.
Man I get busy call him hear your body ready.
Big things are one for your honey.
You be living in style, girl, you know out of money. Girl, tell him no, make him done.
You don't look good and you're not frightened for man.
Girl, tell him no, make him stay.
No man now mind you and your fat same way.
Girl, tell him no, make him boy.
Cause you want no one bag of man dandy.
Girl, tell him no, cause him a fraud.
You want a lover man, you don't want a baggy girl.
Not you big things up.
One for your baby.
Man, I get busy cause him know your body ready.
Big things are one for your honey.
You be living in style, girl, you can't
Man and get one, you think me responsive, them a no liar business. You haunted, kill man and get wanted. Me no responsive, you want courthouse business, mama. You murderer, cry a pay teardrops and water come out time, I mama. You murderer, bad. Him day a courthouse and hear him name call mama. Him all a sweaty in him pants when him hear the judge say give him a life sentence, mama. You shoulda saw him galang when the judge tried the case and said that him fi hang bout him haunted, kill man and get wanted. Me no respond to you and no liar business. You haunted, kill man and get wanted. Me no respond to you and courthouse business. Your mother warn you before certain things go on. Give a pickaxe and a file and a machete to go farm. You never did want that. But you want live bigger, pay your gun. You want sing like you a two-gun kid. Well, watch him every day, no stop program wicked. With him gun pan him finger, have it a spin like a gig. The laugh last boy try a thing. A 3-piece rapid. Police hold him up and rope him up like pig. And in front the judge him start cry like Olive Mama. Come check me regular. Bring me toothpaste, me soap and no left me dinner, mama. Come check me regular. Bring me pants and me shirt and me marina, mama.
Y'all say yes. Enough y'all a get so sex, and when them meet this and them a big up them chest, y'all say yes. And you know what of things you get, and you will confident. I know guess you a guess, y'all show me the details and it's a Toyota starlet. You rank book full your value, enough asset. Well if a y'all a talk and not a thing them no get. Them in a tear up rock and some holy crap. Sample butcher in a way them never see it yet. The fact where you in a come from Nazareth. The chain a murder them and all the big bracelet. Them look on your foot a diamond. Man and call it, y'all say yes. Enough y'all a get so sex, and when them you beat it, and them a big up them chest, y'all say yes. And you know what the things you get, and you will confident. I know guess you have some y'all know what they say must be designed for sex. As a man pass them at the first one, yes, me nah explain no more, cause you don't know the rest. To the say she and the man make a flex. Tomorrow morning you see her, she look vexed. Then feel young, we are not a sense she no get. It's like every bird pass which in a them nest, y'all say yes. Not the dramatic where you possess, but a money man a bring if he want it, y'all say yes. Y'all a get so sex when them you meet it, and them a big up them chest. Tell a gal watch her talk, tell a gal watch her step. When you dep on the road, you look like special guest. Y'all like a bun up them at 50 stand dead. Y'all put up your hand, you say you beat your chest. Beat for your chest and show me what you get. If I watch her, if I show me if I bracelet. If I was if I get, show me if I buffet. If you get a bed, y'all still beat your chest. Enough y'all a sex and not a thing them no get. You are up on the road, I will leave at 10 decks. So your man love you, make you fly and jet. The bank book for your value, no asset, just say yes. Y'all a get so sex when them the ladies and them a big up them chest, y'all say yes.
Specialize, let me look and say.
Some man a walk and a mind down for them friend. I know want to spend on the girls them. Hey, me no say your man can't give him brethren, but remember fi mind up your girlfriend. When the night get cold and you need a little loving, not turn to your brethren. From a man do that and make we shot him. Shot me cutlass quick and chop him. You will know how we mind the gal them. World without end, we buy them house and land a 190 evens. Mind the gal them.
Me ask you, G, like, what started all of this?
He told you?
Him not know neither.
Man, I walk and I mind him friend. Me never say nothing gay friend, but you see the girl them specialize. Let me look and say.
Some man a walk and a mind down for them friend. I know want to spend on the girls them. Hey, me no say your man can't give him brethren, but remember fi mind up your girlfriend. When the night get cold and you need a little loving, not turn to your brethren. From a man do that and make we shot him. Shot me cutlass quick and chop him. You will know how we mind the gal them. World without end, we buy them house and land a 190 evens. Mind the gal them. World without end, if I fi tell you from when I from 1910 and me a spend. On the good body gal them, me buy them house and land a 190 evens and me a spend. On the strong body gal them, give me the girls as a them and my friend. Me never say a man mustn't give him brethren, but you have to spend on the good girl them. Me never say a man mustn't give him brethren, but me mind me family and me mind all me friend. Oh, I can I mind down for them friend. I know I fi spend on the gal them. Hey, me no say a man can't give him brethren, but remember fi mind up your girlfriend. Cause when the night get cold and you need a little loving, not turn to your brethren. From a guy do that make we shot him. Shot me cutlass quick and chop him. You will know how me a spend on the jungle list gal them. Buy them gold chain and all, buy them ring and we a spend. On the strong body gal them, buy them sweet queen and diamond earring. On the all them when them a come, no English pound them a bring a me a spend. On the Japanese gal them, then they gal rich and them we kill you with the egg and me a spend. Them can't hold your girl. You gotta lead her just a sight of your image and murder them breed. Can't stop your girl. You gotta lead her just a sight of your image and slaughter them. Woman, for your heart, me a free ball out, yes indeed. What a pretty fruit tree, you wonder who sow the seed. need a personally talented, yes indeed. Clean cut, well brought up, not consumed by greed. Woman, where you find the gear, that's where you get the speed. Them can't hold you know. You're gonna lead a just sight and your image and start of them breed. Can't stop you know. You're gonna lead a just sight and your image. Why? Who them pick up where you put on your stop live and clean right up, front up, kissing you ear coming. Them not in you, I want you listen to me, see them war. Mash up your life too, you don't let them in. Fight them and give you, but no matter them a queen. When the man them see you, everybody have a scream. Only for resume and application put in. Full calm and collective, mashing up the scene. Them can't hold you, girl. You're gonna need a just sight and your image and murder them. Try to be the only in your life, I want to be the only man, real quality. Rest you are deal with and nothing less. You have to look the best. We're the best like special guests. So fun with poverty to get out stress. Oh yes, them don't like you but you pass every test. You bring it, ball it out. Beat up your chest. So wicked and you're tougher than you're better than the rest. Them can't stop you, girl. You're gonna lead a just sight and your image and murder them breed. Can't hold you, girl. I would like to be the only in your life. I want to be the only man. Real quality time and affection. One man can't run all the combination. All she a look, she no see the miss a man. Tear up resume, burn up application. One look she take, and me fit the position. No matter how in a the way, run away the little man. Put you on this land for rock you all night long. Oh man, I'm in trouble, you owe me out of bubble. Something must be wrong. Not true, no me no have no juggle me a juggle, still can't hold my hand. Girl, I would like to be the only in your life. I want to be the only man. Real quality time, affection. One man can't run all the combination. Ah, she got look, she don't see the Mr. Man. Believe but them a come out. Them no ready, check them out, them is a mess. No one about a problem and stress. Now we accept kill you with happiness. Stick to the ragga and you would do one left. This is no papi show. Then your man him get a blown good boy. Really can't nothing so. Like to be the only in your life. I want to be the only man. Read quality time and affection. One man can't run all the combination. All she can look, she don't see the Mr. Man. Why you refuse to open your ears to me cry? Feel me only want to show the eagle eye. Road many notes and you didn't reply. Walk out me booty to show I am a night sky. Woman do it good. I cry your balls in the water well dry. Anytime you see you, me a real you high. Them bitter rise and me not stop cry. I'd like to be the only in your life. I want to be the only man. Read what is the time and affection. Front every time, no second class thing. No woman in the world I share them something. If you love her from start, why you put on the ring?
Me ask you, G, like, what started all of this?
He told you?
Him not know neither.
Something in my heart says this isn't right. It's causing me to worry day and night. You say that you love me, this I have heard.
And
Don't you know that actions speak louder than words? Second class, don't give me no second class love.
what you want?
Whatever you're doing is not good enough.
To make sure you want your
Class, it cuts like a knife. If you don't want me, just get out of my life, out of my life, out of my life.
Oh, and them wanna see those type of loving. Hugging and kissing and no mention caressing when me sing. Girls request the decent type of loving. Hugging and kissing and no mention. Watch this. When up front every time, no second class thing. No woman in the world I share them something. If you love her from start, why you put on the ring? What you want to break her heart and hurt her feeling?
Second class, don't give me no second class love. Whatever you're doing is not good enough. Second class, seconds like a knife. If you don't want me, just get out of my life, out of my life, out of my life. I still do everything you want me to.
must want the DJ charge for a dead. Woman, you see your body ride a murder. You must want the DJ charge for. Shot pitch up on your saddle, ride up on your back, exposing your property. Man, I say fat merchandise. Ever they never run out of stuff. Full of shape like a coke buckle without the things that go off in your body. Just me pan that all fruit rhymes. So make them go and shot. What am I do? What am I try? Who them I try? Stuff from body rider. Away, girl, you have it in that. So me say, woman, you say your body rider murder. You must want the DJ charge for a dead. Woman, you say your body rider murder. You must want the DJ charge for it. Can't hold in a bucket, can't hold in a pan. Me I genuinely wonder want a fraction. The DJ want to know how where she get it from. Body rider, the girl I use and a madman without the body rider. Tackling now go out. If the face now say one, the body free a shall go to shall go check. I just make a later down the south. One come a dance, come work, come shack out. So me say, woman, you say your body rider murder. You must want the DJ charge for a dead. See your body rider murder. You must want the DJ charge for no girl in a body shot. Feel say them hot but them flop. Cause under them body jam black. So you feel banna the roller and deal with the case. Come do vocal dance and make up your face. And make your man know you have a slice of the cake. Cause your body rider, it a mash up the place. So me say, woman, you see your body rider murder. You must want the DJ charge for a day. Girl, you see your body rider murder. You must want the DJ charge. Pitch up on your saddle, ride up on your back, exposing your property. Man, I say fat merchandise. Ever they never run out of stock. Full of shape like a coke buckle without the top things. Rough your body, girl, straight to the max. Jump and shock out, you are hear me non-stop because woman, you see your body ride a murder. You want the DJ charge. Me no stop love how the girl them flex. The hand close and make a next girl face. Me no stop love how the woman them a flex. No stop live big and make a next girl. It's like giant food party and the one name and conference them have a name in a sit-down pan. Talk about say, them a love how you dance. You not follow them, keep no one bag a man. But no pay them no mind, me child make them run. Can't knock your body, them can't do you no harm. Them can't waste it past them poor about time. Touch them down, you chew your in a job farm. Them a call up your name, chat your way down. Anytime you see them, you feel kick up and talk about you no stop love how the girl them flex. The hand close and make a next girl face. Me no stop love how the woman them a flex. No stop live big and make a next girl. But vex if you want vex, most if you want bounce. Them can't knock your body so make them go and coast. Them don't really like to see how you keep your head up. You're in your nice job and them all the days work. So them can't beat iron for try mash you up, girl Britney. Jump around and beat to stomach me. Just love how they girl them flex. They hand close and make a next girl face. You don't stop love how the woman them a flex. Now stop live big and make a next girl. Woman, not know every time them see you girl you ever look clean. Dress up in your chiffon dress. And you see queen, and some of them dress tight in the trend, them a green. Them weak at the park, them can't buy earpin. Then you get your facial and you take care of your skin. Sparkling and the mention stunning. If looking at your body, woman was a still right now. But your bantan will be in presence, so me just love how the girl them flex. They act close and make a next girl face. Oh, you just love how the woman them a flex. Now stop live big and make a next girl. It's like giant food party and the one name end. And friends them have your name in a sit-down pan. Talk about set, them no love how you dance. So you not follow them, keep no one back a man. But no way them no mind.
This year, make sure not the better hotel made. I rebel but tell her go to hell. This year, make sure not the better hotel her she done. That's why a man a run, come her body done you know. But you have the glue maximum last she done. Me no have no red left her body done you know. Yeah, that's why you a text it. Problem, me take and pamper. She be go park like a old car in a garage mate. I rebel but tell her go to hell. This year, make sure not the better hotel mate. I rebel but tell her go to hell. This year, make sure not the better body tell you have the smart. Fat buff and tight and a bleach and a sweat on your body all night you again. Must have to request it again if I so. Y'all make me see the hand them so. That's why me have to show your back face. Her body done but you find out it too late. Your body ready. Y'all not stop show for your face. Look up, y'all skin out in the place mate. I rebel but tell her go to hell. This year make sure not the better hotel mate. I rebel but tell her go to hell. This year make sure not the better hotel she rebel. But the man still a come back. Why? Because girl you will give you but the man still a pass through. Just because girl you full
man, cause him can't take back when down did give you. Post by your one time man, you find a good man, and you know him a take care of you, you have your bed. Hand in the ear, shout it out, you expensive, and there you look sweet. Soon turn the wife, ball it out, you want step up in a life. And it's like this. Paddle for your one time man, cause him can't take back when down did give you. Post by your one time man, you find a good man, and you know him a take care of you, you have your bed. Hand in the ear, shout it out, you expensive, and there you look sweet.
Make a school to have a problem.
The wife, ball it out, you want step up in a life, hold up your hand. Bounce and go round, make sure him see you and hold him head down, him surprised.
School to have a problem.
For you, swear to God him big can you down too, so yeah, model for your one time man, cause him can't take back when down did give you. Post for
school to have a problem.
Find a good man, I know him a take care of you. Him used to tell him friend them, oh you are riff-raff. Have you in a house like say you a house rat. One strong heart feel much a red frack. Look on it that girl and come feed them back. Find a better man and you start look at. Bumper get big this step on your house stamp. See you in a dance but him want rally back. But no, girl no answer to that. Before that one you prefer go a dove card. Mothers, I da take him lately. Do you find a better man and that drive him crazy? So girl, model for your one time man, cause him can't take back when down they give you. Post by your one time man, you find a
Wife will set a better trend.
him a take care of you, ball it out in you man.
And sing. So when wifey come out, them bush to the bone. Them no worry about man, cause them have for them own. Me at come out and I go like she had kiss me next she in a the she keep rock. Wifey a winner, big sprinter stay on. You the man request me, can't take your lover. It a get loving, around the kitchen. Wife on the moon, she take the plane and go foreign. Me at ready, tell everybody. She a get the love, but you get the money. Wife exquisite, everything you have it. Don't worry, who no sell cost, everything legit. Yeah. So when wifey come out, them bush to the bone. Them no worry about man, cause them off with them own. Me at it come out and I want like she a kiss me next she in a she keep from. Yeah, yeah. Woman, you know what you give me donkey lens. You a lead over the man 320 Benz. Me at it come in like car when man rent. No angle with care so it mash up and then.
Every day and Buja Boy.
Man residence.
Every day and Buja Boy.
Out round the fence.
Every day and Buja Boy.
Independent. Them can't get you up because you stand permanent. When wife you come out, them bush to the bone. Them no worry about man cause them off with the bone.
All the girl, them no girl can't stop them. Put your hand on the ear and just, oh man, cock up your body and ride. When you see a beauty, you she don't look nice. Girl, you just cock up your body and ride. Them a tell me in the backbone, don't pay no mind. Cock up, oh man, so you look good, girl, too, you look nice. Girl out the road, no for them a criticize. Fancy Susie, anyone them guys. Chat behind the back and them a bun bad light. Just because of you all of the men them like. No man no want them, can them no look right, them can't.
Well done, wife. And you know what's me? Make a girl know them pattern are straight. You look good, girl, you have a cute face. And I'm mad over your looks and shape. Well, big things, a girl man a run you down. A girl bet like a you make she done, you are done. Wife, girl, and yes, a your role. Make you make no sense to fool. And you done roll, so we better them cool. Well, pop, style, hotness, me child. You own him and a girl, wait for your while. Be good for your body, man, we swim River Nile. Smooth and silky, girl, tender and mild. Milk can never take this dance and smile. See, don't find your business while for them was spoil. No man a exchange them engine oil. Lead you a lead the whole of them ball a mile. That's why they mad cabra smile. Well, don't wife, you know watch me. Girl, patrol can know you're not scrape. Look good, have your cute face. And I'm mad over you looks and you clean. Well,
I wanna be free from all chains and all bangles and ropes. Free from all bars and all borders and doors. Free to praise the Lord because me not praise the Pope. So I know you will wash your face with Babylon soap. Me have a leap of faith and me have a leap of hope. Life rough and hard but we did me a fig up. So take it on the level and to fly down this slope. Around but gangali up the float. I was born to be free. Oh gangali gangali. Oh man oh gangali gangali. Oh man oh gangstally. I know have eyes they will see. Say me no come here so fi joke and me no come here so fi laugh. Me dey up and me condition of me complete heart. Jack is my rod, of course he is my staff. If you love the go, you have to accept the gap. Could I beat me little more, me get hard instead of soft. Iniquity work all, I work witchcraft. Them inject me body with cold, but me knock off. Serious like all 50 judge when I laugh. I was born to be free. I'm a all gangali, gangali. I'm an all gangali, gangali.
From London, Canada, and the USA. Girls, every day. Crown Shabba, King as the them DJ. Never chill alone, that girl alone a waffle. Come up, they need a cup from a piece of the hill. Clear them off. Chill alone, that girl alone a waffle. Come up, they need a cup from a piece of the hill. Clear them off. Woman, me mind is my soul and heart. Party girl and take this sweetheart. Antoinette, at the gate of me heart. But tell the women you're not to bend that of me. But chill alone, that girl alone a waffle. Come up, they need a cup from a piece of the hill. Clear them off. Chill alone, that girl alone a waffle. Come up, they need a cup from a piece of the hill. Clear them off. Girls, every day. From London, Canada, and the West End.
I just say Coca-Cola bottle shape, I hit around the place. Broke out, girl, you have the shape. Coca-Cola bottle shape, I hit around the place. Skin out, girl, you have the shape in the place. Uptown girl, I'm the shape in the place. Downtown girl, I'm the shape in the place. London girl, I'm the shape in the place. New York girl, I'm the shape in the place. Canadian girl, I'm the shape. I them have the shape and I give man headache. I them have the shape, make man body shake. I them a fling big.
Me ask you, G, like, what started all of this?
He told you.
Him not know
Watch
neither.
ya, have mercy. Oh, I just say Coca-Cola bottle shape, I hit around the place. Broke out, girl, you have the shape. Coca-Cola bottle shape, I hit around the place. Skin out, girl, you have the shape in the place. Uptown girl, I'm the shape in the place. Downtown girl, I'm the shape in the place. London girl, I'm the shape in the place. New York girl, I'm the shape in the place. Canadian girl, I'm the shape. Canadian girl, I'm the shape. Place. Canadian girl, I'm the shape. I them have the shape and I give man headache. I them have the shape, make man body shake. I them have big big stone and bust up man face. I them have the shape, cause war in the place. I just say Coca-Cola back a shape, I hit around the place. Broke out, girl, you have the shape. Coca-Cola back a shape, I hit around the place. Skin out, girl, you have the shape. When them a walk, it's like a earthquake. When them a run the whole place, it a shake. When them get so much shape from God they knows. But them look good when they put on them.
This world wouldn't have a new. I just don't have a clue. And sometimes it seems that this world closing ahead of me, and there's no way of breaking free. And then I see you reach for me. Sometimes I wanna give up, I wanna give in, I wanna quit the fight. And then I see you, baby, and everything's alright. And everything's alright.
One good.
When I see you smile, I can face the world. Oh, you know I can do anything. When I see you smile, I see your rings of life. Oh, I see you shining right through the way now. When I see you smile, oh girl, baby, when I see you smile at me, oh baby, I don't know my lady, I don't know sweet baby, yeah, baby, there's nothing in this world I could ever do. The touch of your hands can do. It's like nothing that I ever need. Yeah, and when the rain is falling, I can feel it, that you're here with me now. I wanna ask you, baby, if everything's alright. If everything's alright. When I see you smile, I can face the world. Oh, you know I can do anything.
Oh, baby, I know you remember Swasson. Do you remember when we fell in love? You were young and innocent then. Do you remember how it all began? It just seems like heaven sent. So why did it end? Do you remember back in the fall we had been together all day long. Do you remember us holding hands and each on the highest beat stairs? And do you remember the time when we fell in love? Do you remember the time when we first met? Girl, remember the time? Oh, when we fell in love. Do you remember?
Everybody a give on. He's the way the material man. Give you out tell man. Here peace enough. Some man a give on and a get backbone. I know nothing that call it bone for bone. Man a give on and a get backbone. I know nothing that call it bone for bone, true bone. Masters you a drink beer rum, true bone. Next one nigga pick up in gun, true bone. Next John get shot down, true bone. Never name gone asylum, true bone.
Okay, just to remind you, if you didn't hear, that is King Jammies, the great producer that has impacted Jamaican music, reggae, and dancehall in an amazing way. So he's also a sound system pioneer and a dub pioneer, all kind of things. So big it up for Jammies.
Produced by me. Okay? Alright.
say me pay you my rent. And yet you go on like me don't have no one. Lord have mercy. Whoa, well. We burn a fire upon a we got Babylon and the free talk good and never get me down. And though they try to use me and abuse me.
Ease up, my selector. All right, all right. I hope you enjoyed that music. Good evening, or should I say good night, good night, good night. Welcome to a very special night. My name is Dr. Dennis Howard. I'm from the Institute of Caribbean Studies here at Mona. And I want to welcome you to a very special occasion, celebrating the 20th anniversary of Sound Clash, that amazing, legendary book by none other than Professor Carolyn Cooper, my friend, my mentor, and my favorite professor. It is Choo. All right, there you go. So listen, I am not supposed to be talking, but I have to talk because it's Carolyn. And when she was retiring, unfortunately, I was invited to say something, but I was unavoidably in foreign. So this is my opportunity to say what I wanted to say then. So bear with me. If it's too long, don't wave me out. But all right. So I owe this woman a serious debt of gratitude. She's the reason why I'm an academic. Believe me. So we met many years ago during the media circuit because I'm a media personality, and I think we met officially, Carolyn, at a TVJ or a JBC event. JBC, yeah. You know, so the conversation and arguments were very engaging, and because of that we became very good friends. And we've been friends for a very long time. But then now I am a graduate of Carmack because I was in communications and media. And I decided after many years, thinking that I would have done an MBA because it was the fashionable thing to do, I pondered the MBA and then decided, you know, I'm not doing an MBA. Then a friend of mine, Colin Leslie, suggested that, listen, you're writing so much things about the music and the culture. Why don't come up and come to the cultural studies degree? Because the book done right already. Believe it or not, the book they done right already for you. Because unconsciously, a lot of the stuff that I wrote in that book transported itself in different ways in my dissertation and my research. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to do the master's in cultural studies with the option to jump up to the PhD. Now, my friend Carolyn, I never call her or anything, you know. I just come up on the campus. Guess who I buck up in humanities? My dear friend Carolyn. She just said, what you doing up here? I said, I come to submit my application for the master. She said, what? Are you we want up here? Yeah, man, come right now. She said, no, let me see your application. She carried me into her office. Them time there's typewriter days, you know. It's not so long ago still. And she said, no, man, let me look at your application. And Carolyn literally took my application and said, no, write it. We want it clear. Make we type it. And she sat down with me and dictated. I tell her, and she said, so what you want to do? So I come up with this fancy idea of, you know, well, all genres, Carolyn, started as dance. So I would love to interrogate the fact that they were dances and then them come to genre. She said, no, sir, that's a foolishness. You know, Carolyn. She said, no, man. You're too bright for that. Do them thing, them man. Something to that effect. And she said, but listen, you are into management. You're into the music business. You manage artists. Why you don't interrogate that? I say, yes, Carolyn, you're right. So the proposal was about artist management from a Jamaican perspective. Then after a while, after Carolyn type up my thing, I submit it, I was accepted. She said, all right, you know, I'm finding a supervisor for you. She just said, the ideal person is Dr. Michael Witter. The department sent it to Michael Witter. Michael Witter talked some things whenever make no sense. So Carolyn said, don't worry, I have the perfect person for you. And boy, was he perfect, Carolyn. Professor Michaeline is Bayesian, British, but him think him Jamaican. And him interrogate a lot of music and Jamaican music. And was a colleague of the dearly professor. So that was an incredible journey working with Mike. We were still friends. And when I joined the department, after a year, I became a lecturer. Again, this program that Carolyn brainchild again, the Entertainment and Cultural Enterprise Management degree. Yeah, you're right. You see? So, but without you, Carolyn, it couldn't go through. It couldn't go nowhere. It couldn't go anywhere. And because you were alone in your pursuits of implementing that degree with Kamau. You know, so immediately when the program was going to be onboarded, she said, you know, you have to come teach a course. Go talk to Kamau. So I owe this lady a debt of gratitude that is unbelievable, you know. She has, and she continued to support my academic pursuits. And anytime I talk any bullshit, you know, it's the first one. Lord Jesus, Dennis, what did you talk? Up here foolishness you talk. And I love that because, you know, you keep you on your toe. When you see Carolyn, you know, say, all right. You're there on your toe now. And you expect, if you don't hear nothing, you say, all right, yeah, you do good. You know? I remember one time I introduced, I decided, listen, I'm going to be unconventional and I'm going to introduce my friend who we had invited to do the Bob Marley lecture, which was Professor Alain, my supervisor. So I was supposed to do the introduction. So I basically did some heartfelt kind of thing, ignoring his accolades as tenured professor and the accolades in terms of his publications and all kind of things. So after I'm done, in the middle, Carolyn asked a question and said, well, if Dennis never, what you say, Carolyn? You remember? Carolyn said, well, you know, Dennis never really introduced the professor in the right way, you know, because nobody, you never talk about his publication, blah, 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 blah. I say, all right, Carolyn. But that's how she is, you know. I will love her for it. So, I don't want to wave me off and say me talk too long. So, I am going to introduce a legend to make some remarks. And this man is Lloyd James, all the way from Montego Bay and Waterhouse and some uptown place where I live now. The legendary producer, engineer, sound system operator, and DJ, Lloyd King Jammy James.
Yes, thank you very much. Good night once again. He's not a big talker like Dennis still, you know, but I have a couple of things I want to say. And the first thing is that the first time I used to hear about Miss Cooper from long time. But the first time I ever meet her personally is we are far in France, you know. I went there to do the Ratatam show. Spain. Went there to do the Ratatam show, and they had this thing named Reggae University. So I went there to do a demonstration of dub mixing. And in the audience, she was there. When I done, man, she started dancing in her seat, and I tell you, you know, when I done the mixing and all them things, man, and them talk to me, She come and say, boy, lied. I have to invite you up, and you know, you have to come do something like this. We say, anytime, man. So I did do that. I do that, you know. I did that already and everything. But once more, I'd like to say, you know, this lady here, I admire her so much because she has brought the culture, musical culture and Jamaican culture to the forefront of academia. You know what I mean? She really boosts it and push it. So I thank her for that, and I thank her for being a friend of mine, you know what I mean, and a friend of a lot of people. So that's all I have to say. I just love her as my friend, you know what I mean? Respect.
King Jammies, thank you.
Let me tell you, Jammies' friend died, and them having the setup tonight, and him saying still have to come and say a little something. So him leaving just now. But I have to tell you now. All right, and let me tell you, you see that talk he was talking about in Spain, Rotterdam? When the people them start dig out him head cup, and him start answer, I said, no, Jamie, you can't tell him everything. And him say, and you remember? And him, yes, and him say it's true. And I say, hold it back, man, because by the time you don't tell them, and then take it, nobody now gonna remember say you them get it from. I saw them people stay.
Okay, we're going to introduce another artist. From one artist to another, the person who is responsible for the artwork on the cover of Sound Clash. Joshua Higgins, my good friend that I have not seen in about 5 years. You too, what this, Joshua?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just reading the script because it's a long story. It's indeed an honor for me to recognize and congratulate Dr. Carolyn Cooper on the 20th anniversary of the book Sound Clash, Jamaican Dancehall Culture at Large. Carolyn, thank you. Thanks for your continuous intellectual contribution to the culture of Jamaica, both visual arts and performing arts. I want to quote a page from 127 in your book, Exhibitionism, Concealed Ordinary Imperfections. In the dancehall world of make-believe, old roles can be contested and new identities are assumed. Indeed, the elaborate styling of both hair, clothing, is permissive expression of pleasure of disguise. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just get to that point where I'm saying that. The reason why I painted this work, and I'll go on a little further, is because I look at the imagery in the dancehall back then in the 1990s and recognize what color and beauty in our people. A lot of this movement is coming out of our Dinky Mini, our Pocamania, our Mento, and the rest of it. And if you look at the center of the work, there's a woman in there. And Carolyn and our editors decided to emphasize the woman inside there. She's a symbol of power. And as a young man who used to visit the dance halls of Kingston, I remembered there was a famous professor here at the University of the West Indies, was my good friend. He used to come by my studio back in the early days and say, listen, man, I know saw the girl them wine, you know. Come me carry go downtown and show how them girl are wine. And he used to visit my studio continuously. My good friend, Professor Carlstone. And Carlstone used to come to my studio late at night to look at the painting and say, come again, man, come look on something else. And the journey of this painting took another turn where This painting entered me into a commercial, from a commercial point of view, where it became one of my most successful print globally. I remember when they had Japan Splash, and I printed several palettes of dancehall. And the producer sent back to me and said to me, listen, send me some more prints. I ran down to lithographics. Lithographics said, I don't have no more paper to give you. Right? And that was it. We sent several palettes abroad. And so, after that, Dr. Cooper said to me one day, listen, I like the image. I want to put your image on my book. And with pleasure, as my good friend and somebody who's been a real actor in the cultural landscape that we live in, and can see something beyond the ordinary. When the churches wrote in Jamaica that, you know what happened? You know, you could use your talent otherwise. You're using it painting woman of wine, right? But I had to capture the imagery, because in that imagery, if you notice, you'll see more women in there than men. And in that same image, there's a man in the center also trying to demonstrate power amongst the other women, whining and showing off their pearls in the dance hall. It's quite an influence on me. Presently, I've decided to single-handedly sponsor other legends in our culture here. I just did the Jimmy Cliff exhibition. And by the way, Dr. Carolyn Cooper was the moderator at the show, and had supported this side of the culture. Also, let me mention something that is also very important here, and let me thank everybody who have put this show together and helped this to come, including Maxine Walters and Matthew at the back. All right? Because long before the advent of social media, TikTok, Instagram, there were beautiful posters all over Jamaica directing you to the dance and the dance halls of Jamaica, right? And we told the story as to where it's happening and the rest of it. And let me put another side to it. They're also musicians, singers, and I call them poets. Shabba Ranks of the world, Lady Saw, and Ninja Man. Because of them and the colorful sound, the music, I'm also doing a painting that will illustrate all of these other legends in the music. So my job is to basically look at what is happening today and record that, live it, and understand it. And I thank Jamaica very much for that. And I thank the audience for that too. Thank you again.
Thank you, Joshua Higgins. Okay, it's that time when we'll be having the conversation. So we'd love to welcome on stage, firstly, Dr. Dave Goss, the senior lecturer and director of the Institute of Caribbean Studies, and Dr. Lisa Tomlinson, senior lecturer and head of the Department of Literatures in English. Now, before I invite Carolyn, I just want to say again, that book, Sound Clash, it's an amazing book. The first chapter is one of the best retort academically that I've ever seen in my entire life. If you haven't read it, please do so. Word, sound, and power, man, amazing, man. Not to mention all of the other content of the book. I've used it in my work, and I continue to be inspired by the book. And so, without much more talking from me, Professor Emeritus, correction again for me. Lord Jesus, when is it done?
We have to set you straight, you know. On.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I know this is a beautiful scene, Maxine. You and your set did a wonderful job, putting us into the dancehall vibes. And I also want to welcome. We're forgetting about our YouTube virtual audience, so I want to also welcome our virtual audience. And also feel free, YouTube audience, to ask any questions in the chat. And I think Tony Jean will be taking the questions if we have to. So I'll start off the question. It's kind of a little bit, you don't know what to ask Carolyn. Because Carolyn is not afraid to check you, right? To put you in check.
I promise to behave. The mic is on? Yeah, I promise to behave myself.
Okay, she promised to behave. All right, so as we celebrate this anniversary of your book, Carolyn, anniversary comes with memories. So we're going to go down some memory lane and, come up to the current. So the first question I want to ask you is, what memory comes up or what memory surfaces as you celebrate this book, about the book?
All right. Let me say that before I answer that question, and in a way I'm answering it, I want us to remember Garth White. Garth passed recently, and I just want us to acknowledge the fact that Garth was one of the very first people to study Jamaican popular music seriously. And Sonia Scandinavian has recently edited a book called Dancehall, the Dancehall Reader. And Garth's essay on Jamaican popular music is the very first essay in the book. So Garth just passed, and I just want to pause to acknowledge him and the work that he did. So the memories, what I remember about this book really has its origins way back, 35 years ago, not 20. My very first essay on dancehall was published by Jamaica Journal. Slackness, Hiding from Culture, Erotic Play in the Dancehall. And it was a Josie Wales tune that provided the title for the chapter. Slackness in the backyard, hiding from culture. And when I thought about that, I said, all right, slackness is hiding from culture. You see, culture, I think of culture as respectability, and slackness is out of orderness, and slackness is hiding from culture because slackness doesn't want to be contained. But then I also thought slackness hiding from culture could be interpreted to mean that culture is trying to encroach on slackness, and so slackness has to be hiding from culture in the sense of, like the way the old man them like to run down the young girl. so in a way, you were getting the reverse of culture as respectability to slackness. Slackness has to be protecting ourselves from so-called culture, So thinking about that early work, 35 years ago, the essay was published. It was actually written a year earlier because I was fortunate to get a fellowship from one of the a Commonwealth fellowship to go to the UK to work on what became the book, Noises in the Blood. And, it was really an important moment for me to recognize that, Jamaican artists, the singers, the DJs that people dismiss, make very profound statements, but we don't listen to them. And my memory of doing this work is recovering these voices that are routinely dismissed as just slackness, out of orderness. The people them don't have no education, them not going to university, so they must be chatting never forget Rex Nettleford saying to me one day that somebody said to him, he wondered if Buju Banton understood what he was saying when he said, kill I today, you cannot kill I tomorrow. Rex was just upset because he said, somebody writes lyrics and they sound so profound to you that you can't believe that they know what they are saying. So this is part of the problem in the society, and I think that what I remember about this work then is my commitment to recovering what people say and acknowledging its complexity.
Thanks, Carolyn. Dave?
Yes, good night, everyone. Carolyn, I want to further congratulate you on that seminal book.
Excuse me, please. Seminal stroke ovula. You can't have no creativity. You cannot have any seminal creativity without egg. And I mean, I said I was going to behave, but I had to misbehave on that one.
It's fine. But the book affirms, validates Jamaican culture. 20 years ago, when it was written, I'm sure it really captivated a number of persons. I want to ask a personal question,
yes,
because I know that because of that book, many middle-class Jamaicans started viewing you as a troublemaker, right? How can you be validating slackness and them little dirty boy downtown and them what that kind of work? Now, how it affected you, all the comments people make? Because that even language, for example, the language, the music, the sexuality in it, the erotica, all of that. How it affected you, and looking back 20 years after, what are now your thoughts about the importance of this work?
Let me tell you, your back have to be broad in this business. So it don't affect me, because if you listen to what people say, you know, you will never do any work. And I have to big up Lucille Mathurin Mayer. Everybody should know Lucille, very important Jamaican historian and diplomat. And one day she said to me, Carolyn, never ever let what other people think stop you from doing your work. And it was as though she recognized that I was on the front line, susceptible to attack. And she said, she just gave me that strength to continue. And you know, if you don't have that strength, you will never be creative, because creativity requires courage. And a lot of people have good ideas, but they are afraid because they don't know what this person going to say and that person going to say, and so they repress their very good ideas for fear of how they are going to be received. And I know many of you in this audience are the creative types who have stepped out and decided that you're going to do what you think is important. Look at Lloyd. Look how much trouble Lloyd gets into, because Lloyd shot the truth. You understand? And they couldn't deal with Lloyd. But see, Lloyd still are gone. Big up yourself, Lloyd Aguilar, you know, because Lloyd refused to let them silence him. So, you know, in other words, looking back, I have always been like this. And ironically, I attribute this courage to my Seventh-day Adventist upbringing, which seems very counterintuitive, because, you know, Adventism is one of the most backward fundamentalist religions that you can think of. But there was an aspect, we're running neck and neck with Jehovah's Witnesses. I hope no Jehovah's Witnesses not here. You understand? We're neck and neck with them. But I'm telling you, one of the beauties of Adventism was that we had the courage to go against the grain. Everybody going to church on Sunday, you going to church on Saturday, because you know you have the truth and you are on the narrow way to redemption, whereas the other people, them on the broad road to destruction. You know, so in a way, but one of the ironies is that Adventism also is a very education institution, but very anti-intellectual. You know, it's a paradox. They have all of these universities, and so I was teaching at an Adventist university in the States, and it is a grace of God that rescued me from that institution, you know, because we had students like coming from upstate Maine and New Hampshire, and the first time they're coming to any place where they're going to meet a whole heap of black people. And then you had a whole set of Caribbean people, Haitians, Jamaicans, Bajans from New York at the college. So you had a mix now of these very sophisticated black people and these very backward white people. And I had a fellow in one of my classes who says he's not studying fiction because it's not the truth. Well, the head of the department said to me, don't bother with him. Let us just try and find a little way to help him out of his crosses, you know? And then there were some other geniuses. There was a young fellow who was an art major. And we were studying African literature because I radicalized the curriculum when I got there. And he asked me if instead of writing a paper, he could do a drawing for his final project. I said, of course, ma'am, you know, I am a sensible person. And let me tell you, he did a painting of colonialism with these diseased feet. Well, you know, it's Jamaican feet, it's really thighs and legs. The whole, not just feet, it's a whole up to the hip. Diseased, standing on a multitude of black people. It was such a brilliant image of colonialism. He got an A, and I mean, he went off to work in New York with some big advertising company because he was really good. So he was able to translate the concepts, not like Trump's concepts of a plan, but he was able to translate actual concepts into a brilliant image, you know? So it's just a long journey to say that you end up in this Adventist college, very backward, but you find these bright young people who you can help to develop, because for them it was just a revolution to be introduced to African literature for some of them. I showed the harder they come at this college. The dean called me in to hear people complaining that I was showing a movie with sex in it. So I asked him if these young people don't know anything about sex, you know, and on top of it, I took a field trip into Boston to see the movie at a midnight showing. He called me again. So that's a long answer to the question that your back have to be broad. Yeah, you can't, you know, you can't be deterred by what people say.
Thanks, Carolyn. My question is, I guess, going to go a little bit back, where, you know, when dancehall came out, everybody thought dancehall wasn't going to live. It was only a fad, which is usually the case with black music. And now, what happened in 2004, we saw that, you know, or when your book came out, dancehall actually had a longevity. It did live. But then, now, you took the bold move to bring dancehall into the academy. So my question is, when you were writing this book, did you even think or imagine the impact or longevity that this book would have had on the culture?
I wasn't thinking in terms of longevity. I was just thinking that this is something, ideas I had that I wanted to explore. Because as I told you, I was on fellowship leave. I came home at Christmas. I went to Derek Harrott's record shop and got the best of, you know, every year he would put out the best stuff for the year. And I took the best stuff, those days was cassette, took it back to England, and I sat down and I meticulously transcribed all of the lyrics. And I began to see patterns, you know, in the lyrics and so on. I began to see themes, and that's how I sort of put the thing together. But I really never thought that, you know, I'm doing this because of its long-term value. But then, when I got the idea for the Reggae Studies enterprise, this was earlier, 1997 was when we had the first Bob Marley lecture and all of those things that came up. I decided that I was going to do a series where I'm going to ask the artists to come and speak at the university. That was really a revolutionary thing, to get the artists to come in and speak. But I was very cautious because I know how my people them stay. You invite them and them don't show up. and them embarrass you. You have a whole heap of people waiting and nobody don't come. Well, it's like I put goat mouth on myself. The first person I invited was Ninja Man. And I met him because I'd gone Louise Fraser Bennett, brilliant sound systems organizer. She had invited me to go to Gun Court to speak as part of a prisoner rehabilitation program. And Ninja Man spoke, he was one, and he was so good. I said, all right, I want to invite Ninja Man as the first person to come. You talk about the problems of bringing the artists into the academy. When we advertised the event, the Observer turned a routine press announcement into national news. It was on the paid national news that Ninja Man coming to speak at the university. The principal's office was inundated. People called it talk shows, how Ninja Man could be speaking at the university. And the topic that Ninja Man came up with was Ninja Man's program to elevate Jamaica. Well, people defaced the posters, elevate, question sign, and so on and so forth. Ninja Man never show up. The lecture theater, social sciences lecture theater, ram. And when we realized that Ninja Man not coming, we had a wonderful discussion about the value of his work and so on and so forth. You know, this Sunday, the Observer posted a cartoon with people in the lecture theater, the clock saying one time, hours after the advertised event, and the headline, they had an exchange with students saying, Miss, it look like Ninja Man not coming again, they must be gone, border clash. You understand? And it was the poster, you know, the cartoon didn't represent what happened at all. And when you talk about longevity now, that was 2002, I think. If you substitute Vibes Cartel for Ninja Man, you say it's the same thing a decade later. Invite Vibes Cartel to speak. Vibes Cartel not a convicted criminal yet, you know, just a problematic DJ. And the way people went on, you know, the cartoons, there was one cartoon with Cartel in a coffin. I am standing over him, pulling down the top of my dress, and I'm saying, Cartel, come bite me. So, Cartel now is like a vampire. And then, you know, this is what the university come to. And then there was another cartoon with, you remember Ragashanti had been, his program had been taken off the air. So Ragashanti is saying to Cartel, so how you going to lecture at UWI and then take me off of the radio show, you know? And it was just a host of things. One cartoon said the university is now a ramping shop. And I wrote a column where I said, you know, ironically, big up King Jammy, thank you very much for coming, much respect, much respect. Eh? Sound clash? The time run off. It's all right, man. You have to come back. Yes. Yeah. So, you know, what I was saying again. I forget what I was. I know the just I don't remember. Eh? Ramping shop. Yes. So what I ended up saying, I wrote a column about it, and I ended up saying that in a curious way, academia is a ramping shop. Is a place of play. And when you sit down and come up with a brilliant idea and you solve a problem, it is practically orgasmic, you know. So it's a ramping shop where you're talking about the pleasure of intellectual inquiry. So even though that intended ramping shop as something negative, I just turned it around and said, this is what we're supposed to be doing in academia, ramping and playing with ideas.
And Carolyn, I want to really congratulate you because what you did in that book, I think today we understand that more, but at that time, you actually carry some of the lyrics of the songs, both in its format and kind of English for people who do understand the kind of language. But I want to ask you something now, because one of the big shockers in that book, then, when you're ready, then, to see that Shabba Ranks seem to have more respect for women than Bob Marley. That was a shocker. And you actually provided evidence for it. Now, what were the responses like academically and locally?
Well, I don't know what the responses were, because I don't think anybody really came to me and said, Carolyn, oh, you could have said that Shabba Ranks is more revolutionary than Bob Marley. But what I was saying is that Marley, coming out of the Rastafari sexism, the patriarchy, had a much more conservative view of female sexuality than Shabba had. Shabba had a more emancipatory posture. And that is what, I really recognize. And I think one of the problems, well, I shouldn't say one of the problems. All right, let's put it this way. One of the problems with studying literature is that you have a way of seeing complexity. And paradox and all of these things are central to literary discourse. And sometimes people want you to take a little simplistic line, and when you try to show them now that this is more complex than it appears, they get upset with you, But I really was struck by the fact that, Shabba was saying, for example, here's one of the lines where he says, women, don't make the man come take it and run gone left it. Because some of them come take it and them don't want. And he said, and he explicitly says, it's not like somebody say if you pay for it. He makes it clear that he's not advocating prostitution, but he's saying that women must value their sexuality appropriately and ensure that men respect them. And then you have, Bob, who seems to be very judgmental. Pimper's Paradise, You can't have a Pimper's Paradise if you don't want somebody there to get the business. You see, so you can't be calling the woman a Pimper's Paradise and you know that men are going there because they definitely want the Pimper's Paradise. So,
Yeah, there was a lot of shockers in your book. Another one that comes to mind is the comparison with Louise Bennett. You see her as the genesis of the DJ culture, and a lot of people would say, how could you see the two? So my question is, in one way, the book is so academic, but you really touch on issues that were very working class and very relatable to the everyday person. So my question is, how did their book, if you know, because you're saying you don't know all the responses, so how would the book connect with the working class? Did you find people who were actually into dancehall, who were patrons and everyday dancehall people? Did you find any response from them? Because it's so academic, but yet you're dealing with a very working class, everyday subject that matters that we look at.
I can just give you an example. There's a young man who worked as a driver in the medical school, and his mother was a housekeeper around the road corner from me. One day he was passing the house and he stopped and he said, Miss Cooper, somebody give me the book as a Christmas present. And to tell you the truth, me don't understand everything. But every time we get to a stoplight, we stop and read a little piece of it, So he acknowledged the fact that maybe the language, the academic discourse he didn't fully understand, but he was so glad to see a book about dancehall. And he, and I said, oh man, we can come talk and I can explain to you and stuff. But, we never actually got around to it. But I think there are a lot of people who may not have understood everything. And to be honest, I deliberately tried to use a language in that book that was different from noises in the blood. I tried, if you read my newspaper columns, you know that I don't have any sentences where the subject is malice in the predicate and is way down the road, I try to have short sentences without any whole heap of complication. And I'm amazed at the people who read the columns, because even a few months pre-COVID, I used to run a taxi service in my neighborhood. Me no pass people coming off the hill. And I picked up a man, one of the gardeners, and he said to me, Miss Cooper, I just love to read your columns. They are so refreshing. And you know, you look at that man and you would assume that him not reading columns, you know. So this is part of the thing, as you say. You don't know who is reading, you don't know what they find valuable, but you know, we like to say that Jamaicans don't read. Star is not true. Them read star. They may not read books, but they read. And I think if the subject is something that is engaging, they will try to understand it.
I'm going back to the issue again of the rich lyrical content in your work. I'm thinking about like sources and the power of working class culture, which I think that you kind of highlighted. But I really want to ask you, I really want to ask you.
I'm trying to see if we can turn off the fans because first of all, them look very dirty. So it looked like them will be giving you asthma. And it's starting to make me cough now. It's very, all right. That was a piece of bad behaving. I am sorry.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. But I'm asking a question now then that Bob Marley, for example, has his Rastafari faith and the ritual that kind of give him kind of a strong message, right? Now, person like Ninja Man and person who are not really from the Rastafari community, but the lyrics that they portray, and you point out that in your book, is so rich, and you get a feeling that these DJs are like the sage, working class sage for the community. Because they give advice, they give serious advice. You want better commentary on that for us? The power of the language and the source behind these.
Yeah, you see, we tend to set up this hierarchy of reggae as consciousness and dancehall as slackness. And people forget that in the early days of reggae, it was seen in exactly the same way that dancehall is seen, the dirty boy them from Trenchtown. Yeah. So there's a song from my Anglican high school, big up the Swan sisters in the house. Time makes ancient uncouth good. You know that song, once every man and nation comes the moment to decide. All right. Time makes ancient good uncouth, but time also makes ancient uncouth good. You see? So I think the dancehall DJs speak to people. That is why the music is so popular. It gives out messages. It sends out all kind of messages that people might not think are important, but for the artist and for his audience or her audience, it is important. And so I felt it was, I saw this as an important aspect of the book to help people understand what was being said and its value. Because again, the language, because the DJs generally use Jamaican versus English. That's better? Yeah, the DJs tend to use Jamaican. And so, again, it is devalued. And we have to recognize that the Jamaican language is a medium through which all kinds of sophisticated ideas can be articulated.
Thanks, Carolyn. Another thing that the book does, I always recall, because the book it wasn't just regional, it wasn't just border clashing within the Jamaican society, because you went outside to London when you looked at Apache. At the time, he was I guess, reggae hip-hop artist, or dancehall hip-hop artist. I was just curious why England? Why was that the spot that you went to in terms of looking the transnational spot? And I asked this question because, not just because I'm in Toronto, but even because New York and other diasporic points where dancehall at the time, even in the 90s, 80s, were very rich. But I was just curious why England and why Apache?
All right. I really wasn't trying to write a comprehensive study of dancehall, you know, so that is one answer, that I just selected artists that appeal to me. And when my first book came out in 93, I got a fellowship to go to the University of the South Pacific to look at a comparative thing of Caribbean and Pacific women writers. And I took the opportunity to do a round the world ticket that allowed me to stop in a variety of places. I'm a very good beggar, so I went and begged various banks, and I got enough money to buy a business class ticket. I said, I really cannot go around the world in economy. So anyhow, when I got to Australia, I met a young man, Brent Clough, who was a graduate student at the Australian National University. And, you know, we had been in touch because he had found out about what we were doing in Jamaica, and he knew I was coming, so he arranged for me to do a lecture at the university in Sydney. I spoke at about 7 universities for the period. I remember I was in Perth, and I met some young girls on the street after my lecture, and they said, oh, you know, it was just unbelievable. And I said, part of the problem is they're accustomed to West Indian cricketers, but not West Indian academics. So that's, you know, that's one of the issues. But anyhow, Brent is the one who introduced me to Apache Indian. And when I heard Apache Indian's lyrics, I found them so brilliant, I decided that I was going to study. So it's not like I was dissing Toronto or, you know, dissing North America. And in fact, Les Henry, very important Black British academic, was very vexed. How could I be talking about dancehall and I go pick Apache Indian? And it went on and on and on to show now that I did not really understand the Black British scene. Because if I did, I could never have selected Apache Indian to represent dancehall in England. But I had to tell him I wasn't using him to represent dancehall in England. I was using him because I like his lyrics. You know?
Are you satisfied with the literature on dancehall since your book? Because your book is 20 years old now, but I mean, a lot of books have come out on dancehall. Are you satisfied where is the literature not going?
You see how Dave want to put me into mix-up now? Let me tell you, I refuse to go into mix-up. I will only say that I have been seen as a forerunner. And one of the problems with being a forerunner is the people coming behind to trample you. You understand? So you kind of just have to move out of the way quick and make them pass you. You know? So, yes, there's quite a bit of work that has been done, and a lot of it is very good. And people tend to say that because I focus on lyrics, that I have not acknowledged the full range of dancehall culture. But in my book, my essay on dancehall in Noises in the Blood, I made it very clear that dancehall is word, it's music, it's dance, it's all of that. I acknowledge that, but my discipline is literature. And so that is what I'm going to focus on. I remember going to Yale. There was a big conference on the 150th anniversary, I think, of emancipation. And I gave a talk on marronage and slackness in dancehall as a form of emancipation. And after the talk, one of the guys came to me who teaches there, and he asked me, what is your discipline? And I said, literature. And he said, oh, that explains it. In other words, the literary perspective on dancehall allows you to engage with the text in a way that perhaps people in other disciplines do not do. And I really believe that what the artists say is the most important aspect of their total performance. And really, because what they say is their ideas, what they're trying to get across. Yes, there's a theater of the performance and the dress and the dance and all of that, but I believe that what they say is central. Maybe it's just because my discipline is literature. So, you know, that's I mean, other scholars have studied dancehall, but not from a literary perspective. And I'm saying that that is valuable, but for me, this is the most important aspect of the work.
Just to follow up on that, because I also champion literature. textual analysis to me is always very important. But there's always that question about, and in your book you have a lot of literature, a lot of textual analysis. There's also that question about, how do you respond to them when people say things like, well, there are many different interpretations. Like, how do you respond to that?
Yes. My sister is on the line, my adopted sister Tina, and when she read the essay on Shabba Ranks, her response was, poor Shabba no know says all that he must say. And I said to her, you see, it's the same kind of hastiness that all I have done is translated Shabba's language into a different register. And that register now is confusing the issue because people say, him couldn't really be saying that. This is another version of, does Buju understand what he's saying, you know? So I think we really have to recognize that that the artists know what they're saying, that they have ideas that they want to get across. The language might not be what we consider intellectual, but the imagery, when you hear some of the images that these guys come up with, it's just brilliant. Me sit down upon the rhythm like a lizard upon a limb. That is just beautiful.
And that is something that I really admire from the book, the kind of lyrical content of the artists themselves, that they are real artists, so that was quite clear to me in the book. But I want to go back to this issue of erotica, and to disturb the neighbor in that one, the erotica, this issue of public versus private life, the closing versus the unclosing, we grew up in a tradition where we are told to be decent and put on your clothes, but these people don't want to take off their clothes in terms of the home exposure to this kind of lifestyle. Any regrets in terms of that discussion on erotica?
No, sir. No, what kind of regrets? No. You look at Joshua's painting, and the woman bottom cock up in the ear is bottom power, and so. You just have to acknowledge that. So no regrets about erotica, because erotica is foundational to life. And I don't want to forget, so I need to big up my co-authors before I forget. Cecil Gutsmore, my husband, who wrote the first chapter with me with the border clash. Everybody who knows me knows that if I give somebody something to read and they give me any good ideas, the next thing I know I put them name on the thing, because I really believe in the intellectual community. And so I put, he was very helpful, very bright, very, very bright intellectual. And Hubert Devonish, another bright one, who co-authored the last chapter, the dancehall translation, where we're looking at language and the way in which the Jamaican language is such an important aspect of the globalization of the music. So I just wanted to say that before I forget. But erotica, no, you can't, there's no regret about emphasizing the erotica, because part of, you see, there's a whole discourse in Jamaica where brown women are pretty and black women are sexy. And, you have these men with their, what you call them? The trophy wives that are brown. And then they have the black women that represent their true desires. All right, I don't know if there are any brown ladies here who are going to get vexed with me, or black women who are going to be vexed because they are not trophy women. But everybody knows what I'm talking about, okay? So there's that duplicity. You remember, if you remember old story time and the whole notion of nothing black, no good, the way the young man's mother didn't want him to have the black girl, but that is who he wanted. In a way, he represented a very radical view that he never really wanted the pretty girl, so-called, that the mother thought he should have. But that is a revolutionary posture. Most times it's the other way around, that the mother pushes you to respectability and you go along that route. And one man once told me that the first time he married for his mother, and the second time he married for himself. You understand? So I think this erotic thing is feeding into a lot of racial complexities that we don't sometimes acknowledge, that the black woman's body is eroticized, but many times she's not seen as an appropriate wife material. You understand? She's she's a hot girl, but you're not carrying the hot girl home.
Yes, no, I wanted to just follow up on that question about, because you link it back to spirituality, right? You link it to spirituality, so I understood that. But I really want to ask, 20 years looking back, in terms of what you have written, and this whole issue, and you're correct in terms of the kind of hypocrisy, where uptown persons, if you have power and you can fantasize and get away with it, but downtown people not supposed to do that at all. But this is their play. This is part of their play, and ways of expressing themselves. But the other question of popular culture, dancehall as a prism to critique traditional culture. You want to make a comment on that for us, please?
Yes. Well, I talk about Victorian virtue and the respectability of a certain kind of view of womanhood that you get through fundamentalist Christianity, and you get it through, the conventional notions of what is a good woman coming out of that colonialism discourse as well. And dancehall now contests all of that. Dancehall gives you a different model of female power, sexualized power, agency, and all of that, and it's a contestation of respectability. And I see that contestation of respectability as empowering, because people are locked out of certain domains and then they claim power in others. And when I was doing the first book, and I found this 19th century song, Me No No Law, Me No No Sin, where this woman is saying, although a slave needs, it may be early pre-emancipation, so it could be, early 19th century, and she's saying, although a slave needs born and bred, my skin is black, not yellow. I often sold my maidenhead to many a handsome fellow. Now, virginity, by its very nature, is a non-renewable resource. But this woman is able to sell her maidenhead over and over to foolish men who are looking for virginity. And, she says then when I can't remember the exact words for all of it, but then she says she has the baby comes out, she has a baby, the baby comes out white. The mistress beat her because he said must be for massa. And then she has another one that come out black. And massa beat her because he says clearly not his. You understand? And so she can't win, and she said, I'm beaten when I do it, I'm beaten when I don't, and so I just don't give a damn. And I remember giving that talk at a very respectable conference, women's conference in Montego Bay, and one woman in the audience wanted to know, how could I be seeing this out of order behavior as something respectable? And I said, well, that is how I see it. And if you think about it, maybe you might see too. And I remember one of my colleagues in sociology said to me one day, she said, Carolyn, I'm beginning to believe that maybe you could be right, about this dance hall as an empowering space for women, because it is mostly seen as misogynist, is negative, women reduced to sex objects. And then I almost mashed up a women's conference one day where I said, the only thing worse than being a sex object is not being a sex object. And they were so upset with me. But my point was, it's only certain people who are seen as respectable sex objects. Other people, you're not good enough to even be a sex object in this society, if you look at the beauty contest and so on.
wanted to ask very quickly. So because I use your work in that context, this idea of empowerment and valorizing, celebrating black women. However, I find that when I use your work, there's a lot, even from black feminists, this idea of gender-based violence against women. They see the dancehall space as such, and also too the empowerment that you talk about. They see it as very temporary. So they go to the dance tonight, and they may feel temporarily liberated because they're within the space and they're able to look like the posters that we have around the cover of your book. So what's your response to that? And I used to think it was a North American response, but I noticed that it's also very split, where even Caribbean feminists, if I could use the word, also have that notion that, no, this is not liberation in its fullness, but this is more of objectification, and especially in the society where we're grappling with violence against women.
Yes, it's a complicated issue, and I really don't want to romanticize disempowerment. But at the same time, I feel that it's important to recognize that the women themselves are claiming power. So, you have some, and this is, you asked me about Louise Bennett and how I bring her, mix her up in dancehall. Louise Bennett has a poem about this woman who is coming to work late, and a woman, the employer, quarreling with her. And she said she has to go to dance and, enjoy for herself, and she cannot be missing dance in order to come to work early. And so you see, from even Miss Lou is looking at the dance as a space where women can claim pleasure. Is the idea of pleasure as something positive. It's not necessarily just sexual pleasure, but just pleasure in the capacity to control your spaces. And you may not have a lot of money, but you know that when you dress up and you're going at the dance, man, I want to look upon you. And one of the things in dancehall is if the video light not on you, you're not saying anything. And this is one of the ways in which I distinguish my reading of female empowerment from, some of the Western feminists who talk about the gaze, and to see women who are looked on as victims of the gaze, so that the gaze is something that is like an abusive posture for you to be gazed at. Whereas in dancehall, if you do not attract the gaze, something is wrong. So that the gaze is now seen as your power to attract it, rather than it being something that is being launched against you. So.
And I find that the longevity of dancehall and the importance of dancehall, in a sense, is a commentary on the post-colonial Jamaican state. You don't make any comment on that.
No, you elaborate your question first, because you sound like you have the answer to it in the question.
No, the question I'm actually asking you then, those who criticize dancehall, in a sense, they're not seeing that dancehall to a great extent, right, provide that kind of space, entertainment, like university, it's a place to get wisdom and you get empowerment. So that is so critical, because that is not in the Jamaican colonial state.
Yes.
So the significance of dancehall in that sense.
All right. I want to tie it to the problem with the beach. Because it is as though black people in this country are not entitled to leisure. We are not supposed to be doing anything that other than working. You understand? So you must not have any opportunity to go to any decent beach, because it's only certain people must cock up them foot on beach and enjoy themselves. And it's the same thing that the dance becomes a space of leisure. It's a place where you don't go because you can go to a dance, and if you come to work late, it's too bad for the employer, because you have to go to Buster dance and enjoy up yourself. So that this is the problem, that if black people are not entitled to leisure, it means that all of the pleasurable activities in which we engage are delegitimized because there are no, there are signs that you're wasting time, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. How can you don't have money to do X, but you can find money to go to dance? And, I always say there's a line from one of Shakespeare's plays that I love. Give not nature more than nature needs. Man's life's as cheap as beast. I don't know if it's an exact quote. But the point is that excess is what makes us human. That is like art. Tying with art, something that is not quote unquote necessary. But if you don't have what is more than, if you don't have more than what you actually need, then you are like a beast. So that excess is what creates the human power, that you can play, art as play, where people say, well, what purpose art serves? Art's an end in itself. It don't have no purpose other than to be. So I think this is part of the thing that in our society, with the colonial history of enslavement, and I don't think we realize the degree to which the legacy of slavery is still alive, And that is why people say before me plant, food and it be like mosquito shank, we just sit down and watch. Because you realize that you're not going to work out your soul case for nothing. So you just sit down and do nothing than you're working for other people. You can't see what you're getting out of it. So you might as well not bother. And one of the proverbs says, me now work, me just I look because me must live. Because there's that sense that no matter what, you're going to live. So, you don't bother suit you to kill up yourself. But I'm sure the audience must have some questions now.
Yes. Are we going to take the questions from the audience? Hold on, big man. I have one online, so I will start with that one. Paula Williams asked, growing up in Jamaica, dancehall, has a negative connotation. How has it changed to reflect positivity?
I don't think dancehall has really changed to reflect positivity. It's still very negative. But people like me, Sonia Standing Naya, Donna Hope, you, Dennis, whole set of people have been working on dancehall, have been showing the positive aspects of it. But it takes time for people to acknowledge the value. You have so much negativity out there that it's very difficult for people to say, well, it looked like maybe you could be right. But you have to open yourself to that possibility. So I really don't think it has changed to that.
Carolyn, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Years ago, you were taken to task about an artist and a particular song. I don't remember exactly what you said in response to the criticisms that you received at the time.
Which artist and which song?
I'm going to do it now. So that song called Boom Bye Bye in a Batty Boy Head.
Yes.
And you didn't condemn, as I remember, the artist was singing about Boom Bye Bye in a Batty Boy Head.
No, man.
So I just want you now to, remind us as to what really is your position on that song.
No, I did not condemn Buju. What I made a very good argument that I said that Buju has to know that the culturally appropriate values that he's articulating come out of fundamentalist Christian society. That boom bye bye business, the rhetoric of gun violence is not in the church, but the anathema, the sense of disgust at homosexuality is very strong in the church. Buju just used a language that is closer to the everyday reality of Jamaican, where gun violence is how you deal with people that you have conflict with. So I made it very clear that I did not agree with Buju using those lyrics, and I said I understood that he was speaking out of his socialization, But I even went further to say that if the song could even pass in Jamaica, you can't carry it a foreign because people overseas are not going to accept it in the way Jamaicans might, and particularly in the age of the internet. The divide between local and global has been elided, so you cannot even say that you can sing the song in Jamaica and you know, but you can't sing it in foreign because the people in foreign know what you're singing. So my attitude to Buju's song was never supportive of it or of the lyrics, but I understood where it was coming from. So, but you see, if you try to say, I understand why Buju sings this because he was brought up in fundamentalist Christian Jamaican society, people turn around and now say, you are defending it. But I was not defending the song so much as trying to articulate how Buju ends up singing a song like this in a society that believes that he's quite right to sing that song. Because it's not just his personal posture. A whole set of people in Jamaica think exactly like that. And not in Jamaica, as I went further to say, if you go to small town USA, is the same way them think.
Yeah, Carolyn,
yes, Nolly?
which artist has the most functional content that's useful for the audience that they sing to?
Which artist? No, I wouldn't pick out any one, you know. And if I go say Vibes Cartel, no, they're going to murder me. But I think Vibes Cartel is a very brilliant artist. And, you know, yes, he has a whole heap of problematic songs, but he also has very good social commentary. And he talks about his lecture at UE as a turning point where he realized that his conscious songs had value and he could, you know, do more of them. I wouldn't say, I mean, there's so many talented artists that I wouldn't want to say that there's any one artist that I would pick. Buju, I think, also has some problematic lyrics, and but he has some very profound ones as well. Lady Saw, I mean, she's vacillating between Lady Saw and Pastor Hall, but she has songs about, you know, taking care of yourself. Women must make sure that if you're having sex, you must practice safe sex, and condom will save your life. Use it with all your wife, and if she huff and puff, tell her without the condom, you know, I don't know work. And so, you know, all of the artists have, I would say many of them have good lyrics. Now I have to say, and I'm surprised that nobody asked me this, that how would I see the contemporary artists, because the book is 20 years old. That was on your list, okay, let me ask it first. So may I ask myself, 20 years old, a new set of artists. Yes, it's a new set of artists, but the problems have not changed. You still have these clashes between respectability and slackness. It's the same thing. You just substitute different names, and it's the same conflict. So it's very difficult for me to say this one artist, you know, is the most articulate and so on and so forth. What a wicked question, Nolly.
Hi, Carolyn. I've really enjoyed this. This is a lovely, lovely event. I just want to pick up on what you said about empowerment, dancehall seen as empowerment, and then the response from certain feminists. The point is that even in societies where we feel that women are perhaps more empowered than in Jamaica, there's not that much empowerment going on. You know, it's not perfect anywhere. In fact, it's so far from perfect that it is shocking. I don't know if anybody is following the trial taking place in France right now of this man who organized for about 80 men to rape his wife over a period of 10 years. I just read about a woman in Switzerland who was murdered by her husband, strangled by her husband, and then he cut her up and put her in the blender
So I don't think there's anywhere in the world where men are not trying to maintain their position and push back against women who are trying to empower themselves. So either you're in a place like Jamaica where the empowerment is not all that great, or you're in a place like the US where there have been strides made and the pushback is tremendous. You know, we are living in some terrible times for women, you know, and I remember what I think it was what's her name who wrote my mother who fathered me, who spoke
Edith Clark.
who spoke about the fact that you had this visiting relationship which actually gave women more freedom than when they had to live in the same house as a man, you know. So we take our freedoms where we can find them. We take our spaces where we can find them. And I don't see a contradiction between that and the aim of empowerment, which is still a faraway target.
Very
as far
good
as I'm
point.
concerned.
I remember I used to get some wonderful insights from my students, and one of them told us in class about a new trend where women do not establish a primary relationship with one man. They have a system where every man feels that he's getting a piece on the side from a primary man, okay? So that the woman maintains control because all of the men now, nobody can control her because everybody knows that he's an interloper. You understand? So that the woman is able to manipulate all of them into thinking that she's giving them a piece on the side. I mean, that is just brilliant. You know, you might think of it as immoral, but the woman recognizes that this is a way for her now to exercise control, because nobody can tell her that you are not being who you should be, because she has selected this option where she now can manage everybody. That is what the students tell me. I don't know if they were practicing it, but it was very convincing.
I think my question is a follow-up. As one of your students circa 19 years ago in gender
Wow.
studies, you gave me a different appreciation of Lady Saw for sure. I think we were doing textual analysis looking at the difference between her as a strong, empowered woman versus Empress at the time. And I also want to want you to take us back to 20 years ago and make the comparison to now in terms of where are females in the dancehall. Even in the references, just now we're looking at the features and the Vibes Cartel. And yes, a slight reference to Lady Saw, but where are the women's voices now, and are the issues the same? Are the themes the same?
All right. I think of Spice as a very important artist. I can't reel off the names of all of them, but I think Tanya Stevens is a brilliant artist. She's still performing. She's, you know, I remember a lot of these people now are coming up to 50, so they're not young anymore, and there's a set of younger people coming up. You think of, well, you think, you know, there's a whole set of people who are now going back to reggae. A lot of the women are going back to reggae and so on. So some of you people in the audience can help me with the names of the young people. I like to tell people that I'm a bogus dancehall expert. You understand? I don't go to dance regularly. I have to go to my bed at night. I have to sleep at night. When in the days when I used to go to Sting, I used to go to Sting 6 o'clock in the morning. So you miss all of the breath through the whole night, and then you come 6 o'clock fresh after you have slept, and you catch the people that are going up until midday. So Cecile Semage is in the house. Cecile, tell me some of the young people who are doing the important work. Yes, all right. Who else? Yes. Shensia. So, but you see, it's for our next generation of academics now to take those people on. Because, Queen? Yes, yeah, definitely. Yes. So you all can reel off the names for me.
Hi, Dr. Cooper.
Yes, ma'am.
What about carnival? How do you compare carnival to the dance hall?
Well, carnival is Trini slackness, you know. In other words, it's the same discourse, it's the same thing. And, you know, at carnival time in Trinidad, you get the Adventists carrying their children to scamp away from the slackness and so on. You know, it's the same, all of it is coming from Africa. It's the celebration, that pelvic whining and stuff is coming from the continent. It is in our blood. As Vic Reed says in his novel, Nanny Town, Kishi says, Kishi is a griot. To be a griot, I must have no doubt when a knowledge comes to me, like an echo in the bone or a noise in the blood. That there's this idea of knowledge being passed down in the body, in the blood. Is you know, it might sound very, what they say, you know, this sounds like it's essentialist, but it's not essentialist. It's an acknowledgement that culture is transmitted from generation to generation. And so a lot of what we call carnival dancing is the same thing that you're seeing in dancehall. And in Jamaica, you get the problematic posturings because, you know, you have people whining in the street, practically naked at dancehall, at carnival. People in the dancehall are not really naked, you know. There's the illusion of nakedness. The people in dancehall, their clothing is much more substantial than what you see on the road at carnival time. And, yes, in public, yes. And I remember one year, must have been the first year I got mixed up in carnival. And I mean, I said to myself, you see, as I reach the place, me and the people them catch up. Because one woman, nice brown lady, is going to say to me that I don't have on flesh-colored tights. So I said to her, the tights that I have on are closer to my flesh than anybody else's flesh. So these are my flesh-colored tights. So I said to myself, what the hell am I doing with these people? But anyhow, I was in it already. I don't pay for my costumes, so I said I might as well enjoy myself. So when we reached now, the whole day done, and we're getting into the venue for the post-party business, I overheard a woman saying, black woman on the outside, not a reveler. She didn't know it was so much to go into the party, and she couldn't afford it. And what she said to me is she know why it's so expensive, because them don't want us to see them carrying on bad. You understand? But I mean, these were people who were carrying on bad on the road all this time. But she recognized that, you know, that there was a kind of class privilege that allowed certain people to carry on bad. And if other people carried on bad, it was not appropriate. You know, so that is for me, carnival and dancehall is the same aesthetic, but to some degree, as Cecile says, carnival is more problematic because it's in the public domain and it is taking over the spaces that ordinarily are seen as spaces of respectability. And dancehall is in a private space where, yes, you know, we have dances out a road too, but it is a more controlled space.
Yeah, this is more of a statement than a question, Carolyn. Maxine. Samir?
Yes, okay. Yes, Maxine. And listen, I have to publicly big up Maxine and Matthew for the decor. Maxine has been collecting posters for how many years now, Maxine?
About 35.
35. And she has a brilliant book called Serious Things Are Gonna Happen. It is now being reprinted. It's a book of posters. And just want to big you up, Maxine, because when I bust the corner and saw the space, my heart full. I couldn't believe that you had done this for me. Ian Matthew, thank you. Go ahead with your question, Maxine.
Well, it's actually not a question.
A comment, yes.
Yes, it's a comment. It's going back to the dance hall and the empowerment of women there. It's sort of two-sided because, the dance hall that exists there where I live keeps me awake on a Sunday morning.
Oh, yes.
So
I call police for dance all the time.
Unbelievable. But what is interesting about it, this empowerment, is going into the dance hall, it's not just to dance and wind up your body. First of all, people are very expensively dressed. This is not a naked business all the time. You're fabulously dressed and your hair is done. But secondly, it's a business, a place of business. This is where women are able to cook, to prepare, they can't get jobs, so they cook and they provide food and they provide stuff so they can send the children to school tomorrow. And that is where the women take the power now because they're the ones who are controlling this commerce. And I was so shocked when I discovered it, but so amazed and admired it so much. So it's a whole other aspect of the dancehall culture that exists and we don't see unless you go there.
Yes, and even the preparation to get there, the dressmakers, the hairdressers, the nail technicians, mostly women. And then you also have now like the peanut vendor, the jerk man, the soup woman. It's a whole network of economic relationships that are embedded in the culture, the dancehall culture.
Just wanted to make that little point.
So we're good? We're Dennis.
Okay, yes, I'm here. So let's hear it for Professor Cooper. Very engaging and stimulating conversation. And we want to thank our interviewers, Dr. Goss and Dr. Tomlinson. And now, we're going to invite a graduate from the Department of Literatures in English, Colleen Douglas, to give the vote of thanks.
Like me, Professor Cooper up there wonder how me get on for the program.
No, man.
Dennis is the boss of all of us.
And you look so beautiful, of course you have to be up front.
Thank you. When I was coming into Kingston in 1996, I wanted to meet three people. Professor Mervyn Morris, Professor Edward Baugh, and Dr. Carolyn Cooper at the time. I even got my head bald because I wanted to look like her. So my favorite picture is a picture of myself, you, and somebody else who I don't remember because they're never that important to me. At Calabash, who kind of bum with picture. I say that to say that this cannot be the only conversation we're having about sound clash in Celebrate. We need 20 of them. We need more so that younger people, the ones younger than me, can also share in these kinds of conversation. But my task is really not to say that, it's to really give thanks for those who made this possible. I think Professor Cooper started thanking the people who I want to thank. Just become one big up one graduate of the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. Matthew McCartney and Maxine for the decor. Saving the world, so I'm wearing our glasses. The Center for Community Outreach and Development. Whitney Eaton for graphic design, Tony Jean Mustafa for media, photography, Kadira Rowe. I'm leaving out King Jammy because I wanted to leave him for last. There's somebody in the office. Who is it? There are two of them in the Betty who I see walking around. We have to big up the administrators who you never see in public, but every time there is an ICS event, she's around and busy working even when they were Zooming. So we want to say thank you, Betty. Of course, we want to say a special thank you to VP Records, in particular Mrs. Patricia Chin,
co-founder. At the back waving, I cannot see you when I'm wearing Cecile glasses. Big up yourself, iNation. Consistent, persistently selling black relevant books. Dr. Goss, who will call me more often than not for things at ICS because I'm worthy. And Dr. Tomlinson, now in my old department, thank you so much. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Dennis, who is the boss of all of us. I've left out Josh, the artist. Thank you. Not just for the work 20 years ago, but for the words earlier on. And for all of you who could have chosen many other things to do this Saturday evening, but you chose to come here and get rich on some good words. And see Carolyn in our hot red frock. I want one like that. Me already I plan out my outfit. Big up Biggie, dancehall designer for her outfit. But thank you for the good corn soup and fritters at the back. And for everyone, and for Dr. Dennis Howard, who got waved off the stage. I've never seen that happen before. Big him up for moderating. Carolyn, you know me love you. I don't have to tell you publicly because I think I show you privately. But just for someone who've made academia less intimidating, continue to do what you do for as long as you can, so Jamaicans can enjoy you some more. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Big up on yourself.
Thank you, Colleen. And thank you all for being here, the persons online. And as Colleen said, I hope we get to do this again soon, Carolyn. You deserve it. All right. Take care until that time. And as Miss Lou would say, walk good.